And while it is illegal to give money to a justice who's sitting on the Supreme Court, it's not illegal to give money to Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife. And this is why Clarence Thomas should just cash in his chips and go home. He married the wrong person. Yeah, Clarence Thomas's wife, Ginny, has been collecting salaries off Clarence's people courting him in the court. The Federalist Society and the donors to the Federalist Society are very sophisticated, and they know how to skirt the laws when they're not writing them. For example, according to reporting by the Washington Post, Leonard Leo's Judicial Education Project, he changed the name, but at one time he had something called the Judicial Education Project, a non-profit 501c3 tax-deductible nonprofit. Well, according to the Washington Post, Leonard Leo's nonprofit secretly gave $80,000 to Kellyanne Conway's polling company back in 2011 so Kellyanne could hire Ginny Thomas's Liberty Consulting, a political consulting company owned by Ginny Thomas, which, according to reporting that was done by CNBC, it pays her a base salary as well as benefits, but her disclosures are too opaque for CNBC to examine where all the money comes from or where it goes. There are breadcrumbs that investigative journalists can follow. CNBC reports that Ginny Thomas's Liberty Consulting has worked for several organizations, including one led by Frank Gaffney Jr., who the Anti-Defamation League says has a storied history of anti-Muslim hate speech. Ginny Thomas's company also consulted the Alabama judge Roy Moore's failed run for Senate in Alabama. Remember Judge Roy Moore? Let me refresh your memory. The Ten Commandments and high school girls. That's why he lost the race for Senate. Not the Ten Commandments, not violating. He was a judge who didn't care about the Establishment Clause. He was one of the Ten Commandments everywhere in Alabama. But he signed a couple of high school yearbooks. He signed a couple of high school yearbooks. And the people in Alabama thought, wait, if it's not your sister, you shouldn't be hitting on. Anyway, that's why he lost. While the Supreme Court was deliberating Citizens United, Ginny Thomas's Liberty Consulting received a $550,000 anonymous donation from Dallas real estate billionaire Harlan Crow, who has turned out to be a super friend to Ginny and Clarence Thomas. It was a $550,000 anonymous donation, but we have the Washington Post and ProPublica who dig into these things. We've learned that Harlan Crow, the Dallas real estate billionaire, gave Thomas Frederick Douglass's Bible, which was said to be worth at the time close to $20,000. And then he donated $150,000 to add a Clarence Thomas wing to the library Clarence used as a child. Interesting thing about Harlan Crow, the Dallas real estate billionaire. He's a collector of fine art. He likes to support the arts. He likes beautiful things. According to the Washingtonian magazine, Harlan Crow has one of the world's most impressive collections of Nazi memorabilia, including 2 watercolors done by Adolf Hitler, but none of the pastels. Steve Martin gobbled all those up in the late 1970s. You cannot get the Hitler pastels. I almost had a limited edition Hitler lithograph, but Howie Mandel, that prick, outbid me for it. Just out of spite. He knew I wanted that Hitler lithograph. Harlan Crow has 2 watercolors done by Adolf Hitler, and he's helping fund the Federalist Society and Ginny and Clarence Thomas. He's also got statues of other strong men. I think Stalin. I think he's got... that's Harlan Crow. And supposedly his Nazi memorabilia is like just jaw-dropping. I didn't even know it was legal to have Nazi memorabilia. According to the Washington Post, Harlan Crow, for the past 25 years, has treated Ginny and Clarence Thomas to luxury trips around the world, all first class travel, first class accommodations to places like New Zealand, the Adirondacks, and Indonesia. This is hundreds of thousands of dollars in payments in kind to Ginny and Clarence Thomas. And when asked about why he didn't disclose any of these gifts, Clarence Thomas said they're not gifts, they're gratuities. He said, these are gratuities. I always think of a gratuity as a tip, but apparently Clarence Thomas and I have a different definition of the word gratuity. He said, this is what friends do for one another. This is just what friends do. Crow paid, Harlan Crow, he with the world-class collection of Nazi memorabilia. Harlan Crow paid the $6,000 a month tuition at a private boarding school for Clarence Thomas's nephew, who Clarence had become the legal guardian of. That's what friends do. Crow also spent $133,000 to buy several homes that was owned by Thomas and his relatives. One of those homes allowed Clarence Thomas's mother, to live rent-free, because that's what friends do. Then there's Anthony Welters from United Health Group, health insurance mogul. He loaned Clarence Thomas $267,230 to purchase a luxury RV back in 1999. And then most, if not all, of that $267,230 loan was mysteriously forgiven. Anthony Welters was asked about, he can't find the paperwork. He said, I can't find the paperwork. This is a health insurance guy who can't find the paperwork. How ironic. According to the Washington Post, Clarence Thomas had no problem taking free trips, free vacations, free golf outings, and free flights from billionaire H. Wayne Bazinga. No, that's Huizenga. Different Bazinga. Huizenga. He's a waste management guy. I think he owned some video rental. H. Wayne Bazinga. H. Wayne Huizenga. The H actually stands for Huizenga, by the way. It's Huizenga Wayne Huizenga, who died in 2018 without a pillow on his head. He did not die the same way Antonin Scalia died. They found Antonin Scalia at a hunting lodge with a pillow on his face, dead. A gratuity. Some friends treated him to a hunting vacation. That's how Antonin Scalia died. The Washington Post reports that the Heritage Foundation paid Ginny Thomas close to $1 million between 2001 and 2007. What did she do? None of your business. Common Cause discovered the income and said Clarence Thomas failed to report any of it on the annual financial disclosures required by all Supreme Court justices. It's just $1 million from the Heritage Foundation, which handpicks Donald Trump's cabinet. The Heritage Foundation, you might have heard of Project 2025. They've written this manifesto on how Donald Trump can hit the ground running on day one to dismantle the administrative state, that Heritage Foundation, they paid Ginny Thomas close to $1 million between 2001 and 2007. To do what? None of our business. Ginny Thomas, Clarence Thomas's wife, has also received paychecks from the ultra-conservative Hillsdale College. You know Hillsdale College, the far-right college that advertises? Not a good sign when colleges seem to spend more on advertising than they do on their students. She also received paychecks from Tucker Carlson's Daily Caller. Both organizations, Hillsdale College and the Daily Caller, refused to say how much they paid Ginny Thomas and what exactly she did for them. The Washington Post reports that Ginny Thomas received $236,000 from the Center for Security Policy. They're an ultra-far-right think tank that, according to the Washington Post, has spread the lie that Muslims are infiltrating the United States and are a danger. The Post says that the Center for Security Policy, the Muslim-bashing Center for Security Policy, filed an amicus brief in favor of Donald Trump's Muslim ban, which went before the Supreme Court. They filed that amicus brief supporting Donald Trump's ban of Muslims entering the country. They filed that amicus brief the same exact time Ginny Thomas was getting paid $236,000 by the same organization. What a coincidence. Boy, the stars really lined up, didn't they?